Hey everyone, another quick video here, this time inspired by a message I got on Quora. And it's not the first time I got sent messages like this. It's been more often recently, especially with now the corona situation, the COVID situation, just like extending and extending. People are starting to realize they're getting there's just a lot more to do. Pressures are rising, stress is rising, and there's so much more that they need to take care of. And what that results in is people coming to me saying like, "Oh, look, I have this to do and this to do, and this is a challenge and this is a challenge. I need to do this and this and this and this, and I just can't do it." There's so many situational factors, so much crap going on, so much I need to do, and I'm just not getting to it. There's just something that's blocking me from actually doing something. And to be fair, I got this message over the years a lot of times, and this has been a recurring problem with clients and with people I talked to and helped out. That people just have such an overwhelming amount of things to do that they don't get started, or that they don't know where to start. And so today's message is kind of a little bit about that. And what I really want to say is that if you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like you have too much going on, then get first of all make a list. First of all, make a list. Really analyze what all you have to do. Every little thing, from the toilet paper you may need to buy to the larger things like paying your bills or finding a job or even finding a partner. Every single thing that comes to your mind, every single thing that you want to work on or need to do. I want this list to be long. You want this list to be long. You want this list to cover everything so that there's nothing left inside. That first step will get it out into the world and will make it less convoluted in your head. It will make it less thick. It will make it a little bit easier to digest once it's all out in the world and on paper somewhere. Because chances are, in your head, these things trade off. Like you'll think about paying your bills, then you'll think about that you have to maybe find a partner, then you think about that you still have to buy toilet paper, and then it goes back to the bills, and then back to the partner, and then back to the toilet paper, and another thing comes on, which is the car payments, and then you go back to it. And it seems so much because you're repeating these thoughts. Because in your head it's not organized. So they come up more often throughout the day, and that makes you feel like there's more things, when in fact it's just one thing repeatedly showing up because you're not taking care of it. So that's step one, make a really big list. Step two, make a clean cut in that list somewhere between the things that you have to get done and the things that you want to get done. Now, have to get done should only be the things that you're looking for this month, or ideally this week, or even better, today. And you just make a cut. These are the things that have to be done today. These are the things that have to be done this week. These are the things that have to be done this month. Do not make these things that you feel you have to get done today. These are actual, you have to get this done today. Whatever it takes, you must do this. So, um, for example, you want to find a partner, that's maybe indefinite. You have to pay your bills, that maybe you have to do this by this date, says so on the bill. Um, then you make that date must be paid by then. And that divides it up a little bit more. That eases it up a little bit more because you're actually making a little bit of an attack plan. Now I want you to divide it even more and just pick one thing out of that want list. Out of that indefinite list, pick one. Just a single thing. And put the others on a separate piece of paper, put the others on a separate list. Because you're not going to worry about any of those right now. None of them. You're just going to focus on the one thing. If you want to get more confident, for example, you just focus on that. You do not look at the other things. Now, if I may make a suggestion, I would suggest the one thing that you think impacts your life the most. For instance, I get a lot of messages about people that are living in unhappy family situations, be it with their partner or their parents or whatever, that really want to get out. That's been a recurring theme, especially in the last couple months. And then I would make that the priority. Just focus on getting out. For now, just look at that. Don't look at how you're going to do some other things. Don't look at how you're going to become more confident or find a better job or anything like that. For now, just get out. The reason this is so important is because if you don't do one thing at a time, they will reappear. They will bounce back. You will get more of one thing over and over again. Not because there's so many things, but because you have 2 or 3 things in your head, they're just going to trade off your attention span. And that will make it feel a lot more stressful. You have to imagine it this way. For everything that you add onto your agenda list to do, you exponentially increase the amount of work. So for one thing on your list, that's 1 unit worth of work. For 2 things on your list, that's 4 units worth of work. For 3 things on your list, that's 9 units worth of work. So on and so forth. And it's ever increasing. Now, in this example that we just used, 1 unit worth of work is already quite a bit. 4 is a lot, 9 is something where most people are already capped out on. Some people can go beyond that, but they have it really, really finely balanced. They have their days really finely balanced. And if you're feeling overwhelmed right now by all the things, I would limit it to 1. Then, if you feel ready, you can add a second one and try that out for size. And if you can do it, great. Otherwise, go back to the 1. Because the other part of this is that if your life is such a mess because of all of these things, you have nothing to hold on to. It's like you're flowing down a river and there's no rocks anywhere to grab and really hold on to because there's nothing that secures you anymore. There's no rope around your waist, nothing. You're just kind of being taken by the current, and it's fast. Especially if life seems messy and if there's a lot of stuff going on. It seems like you're in the wild rapids, just going down and being tossed about. What you want to do is you want to create one rock or one rope around your waist. You want to work on that first. You want to find something, one thing to secure yourself. You don't need an entire row of rocks to hold on to. Your arms don't reach that far anyway. And you just want to create one thing that you can grab onto to just relax a little bit. You'll still have to go down all of the rapids eventually, but for now, just that one rock to hold on to is going to be good enough. Just to give yourself a little bit of a breather. It's still maybe not going to be that, relaxing, because the current is still trying to pull you in, but it's not going to be that hard. So I would really suggest building one base first that gives you a bit of security in whatever that is. Now, if you have a lot of problems in your life, that means there's a lot of potential possibilities. Pick the one that you think will give you the most security, whichever one that is. So for me, when I started on my self-improvement journey, confidence was a main issue for me. It was one point where I thought I was missing out the most on, and that I thought would transform my life the most when I got it. Didn't end up doing all that much for me. It definitely helped, but it wasn't as big a rock as I thought it would be. But it did help. And so I would like you to build one rock first. Because with that, it creates support system. It allows you then to snowball into the next thing. You build up courage in yourself and belief in yourself that you can do something. You see that something's progressing. That makes you feel like you can tackle more because you know you can change your life. That makes you then be more confident in the approach on the next thing. And it's just a slow snowball that ends up in an entire avalanche of positivity if you allow that to carry you. But for that, you have to build one thing first. And I know that's not what you want to hear. I understand that. Your life is a mess for 60 different things. One thing is not going to make that much of a difference. And you're right, it's not. But you do not have the energy to work on 60 things at once. You do not have the power to do that. It's not going to happen. You don't even have the power to work on 2 things that maybe. Maybe you do. But if you half-ass all 60 things, none of them will really feel taken care of. You're going to leave stuff behind at every step of the way, and by the end of it, yeah, you've made it through the rapids, but you have broken bones and you're completely exhausted, and guess what? Life doesn't just stop that way. There's going to be another wild rapids right afterwards. Life keeps happening, problems keep occurring. It's a never-ending cycle. But if you build some support system for yourself, if you build a raft, if you secure that raft, if you make it stronger, if you grow some muscle to swim better, if you tie ropes around your waist to give yourself some security, if you put in more actual pillars along the way to hold on to, all of that will make the entire journey down the rapids a lot better. Because you can't change the flow of the rapids, you can't change the flow of life. You can only change your reaction to it. So build one thing at a time. Really, like, I give this tip so many times, and so few people really take this into account. Even most of my clients don't do this. So if you're watching this, really take this in. You build one thing. You make one thing a staple in your life. You really work hard to create one pillar. That pillar, once it's really secure and really stable, will do more than any of these half pillars do, because most of them are still under the water. Most of them you're not even going to see when they're only halfway done. Build one thing, and then, once that one thing is part of your life, you move on to the next thing. Just remember how many times your parents had to tell you to brush your teeth. Now it's a staple of your life, and it's a really good staple. I mean, you need your teeth. It's a really good staple now that you have it. And now, no matter how crazy the day gets, guess what? You still brush your teeth. Sure, on a really crazy day you might not, but those are very rare. That's the kind of stability you want these habits to have. That's the kind of stability you want these things to have. You want to make something such a big part of your life that it's not negotiable anymore, that you don't even think about it anymore. But that takes some time, and that takes some effort. And that means you can't get another thing going. For those of you that have a lot to worry about right now, for those of you that have so much to think about, you're not going to, this is not going to change your life immediately. You might have to half-ass a lot of things, but I would try to reduce the effort on those things as much as possible so you have as much potential energy to do the one thing and really make that as stable as possible. Sometimes life is too hectic to just ignore everything else, and I'm not recommending that. But I do recommend that instead of worrying about 60 different things, you try to worry about as few as you possibly can and set one in the foreground and work on that one thing. It's not going to change your life immediately, but that's not the point. The point is to build up, because one thing makes it easier to build the next two things. Those next two things make it easier to build the next four things. And just like it's much harder to add more things, and like that is an exponential growth, once you've built them, they also give you an exponential boost. Once you make a lot of money and have an amazing relationship, everything else you start is going to be a lot easier. Once you have six different hobbies that you're really strong about and that really give your life purpose and meaning, it's going to be a lot easier to find the other things, to find money and partner. There's a lot of things that are going to be easier once you have some established support. So the bottom line here is, what is that going to be? There's a lot of things going on in your life. Now you've made this list. Start prioritizing. Look at the things that you think will really make a difference. Even if they might be hard, I would still focus on those things first. Do the one that carries the most impact, and then move to the next one, move to the next greatest impact. Because if you're only focusing on one thing at a time, you can focus on that one thing, even if it's really crazy and really big. But really do try to take this to heart. I'm not saying this because I want you to go slow. I'm not saying this because I don't think you can handle more. I'm saying this because once you've built one thing, it does way more than you think it will. Now, I've written about this so many times. I've talked about this now as well. I've to every one of my clients, they will have probably heard me talk about this at some point in the coaching. I I don't know what else to do. I don't know how else to give it to you. I don't know how else to convince you of that, of how much of an impact this means. I, I, if I could force you, I would. If I could force you to only do one thing, I would absolutely do that, but I can't do that. And you don't have to believe me. I hope you do, or I hope you at least give what I say here today, what I said here today, a chance. But I can't force you to. Just know that I'm not putting this forth for content or for anything like that. I'm not putting this forth because it's a nice idea. I'm putting this forth because I've tried to half-ass so often in life. I've tried to do so many things at the same time, and it rarely worked. I've seen clients overwhelm themselves so many times, and when they just worked on one thing at a time, it made all the difference in the world, especially when they focused on what was most important. So please, please do me the favor. Please do me the favor and give this an honest try. Pick one thing. Run with that one singular thing for 30 days. Spend at least half an hour to an hour with it every single day for those 30 days. And see how much of a difference that makes. Test this out. You have the month to spare. At least the hour every day in that month. Please try this. And then, if you don't like it or if you have any complaints, you can blame me for that. But please give it an honest shot. I think that's all I have to say on that. I hope you take it to heart. Thanks for watching.